Hi, I'm Carmen, and I identify as a 1930s gangster. My pronouns are, yeah, she is looking at you, kid.
Hey, fun fans, it's We Enjoy. We're talking about Minority Report today. We are the Mattitude Eric. I am Matt Feller. Say hello, Eric Precog Goldman.
I want to be a Minority Report. Hello, everybody. How's it going?
That was a stretch.
No, that's like
Good.
the only hit song that says minority that I
I
can
mean,
think
to be
of.
fair, again, we're dealing with right after AI, artificial intelligence,
hmm
another not great title for a movie. I'm not saying it led to it performed well. Again, it was drowned out by the first Spider-Man and Attack of the Clones and stuff like that. It did okay. It did okay for itself for a 2.5 hour future noir. Resting, Tom Cruise and Spielberg, their combined powers really helped propel this movie forward. Also, it's I think it's a great movie. I really love Minority Report. But it didn't like clean up at the old box office the way the other movies of that year did. Eric, we mentioned at the end of AI Artificial Intelligence that this is a movie that you thought you had not seen in full since the theater. You'd only
hmm
seen it maybe piecemeal here and there.
hmm
I, on the other hand, however, own this movie in physical and digital form and watch it all the time in the background quite a bit. So I'm very familiar with it. Eric, what did you think of Minority Report revisiting it after all these years?
It's okay.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Here we
I
go.
think
Yeah.
I think I mean there was a reason I hadn't rewatching it because it's got all the elements that I would revisit. But yeah, it's fine. It's not a favorite of mine for either of the big draws here in terms of its director and star. It's because it is Spielberg, there are moments and things in it I like, but it doesn't ever really grab me. Interesting ideas. Obviously, this huge, the question, the central sort of thing of the movie about like arresting someone for something that they're supposedly going to do, and the moral questions around that are all, fascinating topics. But the movie never fully comes alive for me, and I do remember that was my reaction in 2002. And that there's that again because we're gonna watch War of the Worlds next, which is a movie I've seen a few times. But there was a reason I might have only seen this movie once. Maybe I saw it a couple times, but yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting because Spielberg himself has described this movie as like 50% character, 50% world building and exposition because
hmm
you are brought into a very specific vision of a world and a very specific vision of technology and how pre-crime works. And there are also people who can see the future and all this, it's a lot to take in. War of the Worlds, he says, is 100% character driven because again, you're only following people in crisis mode through that movie. There's no point where like Ray in that movie, and we'll talk about it next
Yeah.
week, is like, we got to figure out how to defeat these aliens. It's
No, no,
all
no.
trying to survive the whole
No,
time.
it's Cloverfield minus the found footage conceit, which is, yeah, these are not important people in the fight against the aliens. They are
Right.
just trying to survive.
Just
Yeah.
people that we are
hmm
invested in as an audience. So this movie, obviously it's future noir. He wanted to do this movie because it blended two different things with like movies of the past and then like a world of the future. And we also mentioned at the end of last episode that this came in the wake after 9/11, though unlike War of the Worlds, which wouldn't come out till 2005, this wasn't made prior to post 9/11.
Right,
This was made
right.
pre 9/11 and then was then looked at through the lens of post 9/11 world, which is to say like the surveillance state. And Spielberg himself said like basically history caught up brutally with our imagination, which is to say like the idea of a surveillance state and first strike mentality of it going after and punishing people who have committed no crime yet yet also maybe yet question mark,
hmm
right? So it's seen as sort of a kind of post 11 commentary, even though it was made and finished. It was completed before 9/11, a few months before 9/11.
Right,
So
right. It's an interesting Yeah, it's one of those things where, look, it happens all the time where something comes out and was not intended as a parallel to something happening in the moment, but it feels that way. And yes, War of the Worlds will be a much more direct, movie that feels like, of course, the people making it were thinking about 9/11 when they made it.
The bullet points of this movie that people kind of know now, almost 25 years later, which is that Matt Damon was originally supposed to be Danny Whitwer, but he dropped out to do Ocean's 11, which because Minority Report got pushed in favor of AI and delayed, some of the cast members originally envisioned or even cast were dropped. Like there was a different wife that was Jenna Elfman, and just because of the delay in schedule, they lost some people. This was also, notably the first big collab between Cruise and Spielberg, who'd been wanting to work together for many, many years and had met on this set of Risky Business back in the 80s, but it just never worked out until this. This was also Colin Farrell was very drunk in this movie. Like this was during his heavy drinking phase, who came in to play Danny Whitwer instead of Matt Damon. And the story has gone around for years now. It took him 46 takes to film a scene because he was so hungover. And you know how Tom Cruise probably felt about that. Anyway.
Well, that's because I didn't know that story. Obviously,
Yeah.
I knew that Colin Farrell is, recovered addict, and when he's talked about that openly. But I'll say this, that is interesting in the context of what I think people should remember about this movie is 90% of the audience were introduced to Colin Farrell by this movie because he was a buzzed about. If you read EW and stuff like Dorks Like Us, you knew Colin Farrell was just like the next
Which
big
is the
thing.
sequel to Spies Like Us, yes.
He was the next big thing. And I saw Tigerland in the theaters, and I'm one of the only people who saw Tigerland in theaters. But then he was in Heart's War with Bruce Willis, which was a bomb. He was in that Western that was a bomb. So Minority
Was
Report,
he in Phone Booth before this? Or
no,
was that
that was
after this?
it was after. So that's the thing is like almost no one had seen Colin Farrell until this movie where he has a huge role. So it
I
was
mean,
like a
despite
big
how he was feeling behind the scenes, he's very good in this movie.
no, he's very good, and I'm saying I'm impressed he got his career survived being a fuck up on a Spielberg Cruise movie, like because that is crazy that he was behaving like this when he was kind of nobody at this point to be doing that. That is funny to know that.
I want to take this opportunity at the beginning of this conversation too to talk about like the eras of Spielberg.
Mhm.
And obviously people call upon the 70s because you've got the Jaws and the Close Encounters. Where, you kind of have to balance the successful projects with the less than ideal projects, right? Like, because then you may also get the 1941, but then also in the 80s, which is I think most people's hot take on Spielberg, not hot take, but just like if you could pick an era of Spielberg to that represents you and like what you like the most, people might say the 80s and then especially 90s because of Jurassic Park, but 80s you've got all the first three Indiana Jones and you've got the ET, but then you also have maybe you don't like Always, maybe like you're lukewarm on Empire of the Sun, like anyway.
But also the 80s is notable because it's when he becomes a huge producer with Amblin, and so he's producing Gremlins and Back to the Future. So those are
right.
iconic
You'd have
movies,
to ask what the rules are of this.
Right,
If,
right.
In this, you can only pick one Twitter like rage bait scenario. Like you'd have to say, does producing count?
Right.
Then of course the '90s, which is when like he'd win his Oscars and deliver like these gut punches with Saving Private Ryan and Schindler's List, but then also change cinema forever with Jurassic Park. I think like his 2000s run, my big blind spot, by the way, Eric, is anything he did kind of post Lincoln, which is to say like his 2010s run and his recent run, because I didn't see West Side Story or Fablemans. Like I have a blind spot with a lot of the past, I would say 15 years of his movies. But his run from AI to like Munich, when he was just churning out movies, 2 years of this first 5 years, he had 2 movies in a year. You know what I mean? Like AI, Minority Report, Catch Me If You Can, which I love. The Terminal, which I think is fine. Like, it's an interesting War of the Worlds in Munich in the same year too. Like, man, I think he was cooking harder than he'd ever cooked with these movies. So
no, he was on a roll here, and even though he's not making like the most iconic movies of his career, he's just doing really interesting, good to great work, and it's notable. I also want to mention his not frequent because they do pretty much every movie together. John Williams is like his mainstay composer. How insane it is that John Williams in 2002 scored Attack of the Clones, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, Minority Report, and Catch Me If You Can. That guy was not resting.
I don't know, but also at a certain time,
already like about 70, and he was like doing all that shit.
I also want to add that at a certain point in your career, when you're so successful and you've been doing it so long, like Spielberg and Williams, that you have systems in place to make it easier. Spielberg is able to roll out these movies and go from production to production at this point in his career because he's working with all the same people. He has a shorthand with everybody. They know how to light his fucking scenes, right? Like, he's not like a Kubrick. He's not a notorious a million takes guy. Like right. So I think he's got his house in order to the point where like he can shoot the way he wants and people kind of know what he wants. Unless he specifically has conversations beforehand and stuff, I think he can roll this shit out. Anyway.
I mean, isn't this one of 3 years where he had 2 movies? 93.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like the last one was in the 90s, but in a 5-year period, here he had 2 movies in 1 year. Yeah. So it's like so close together.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, the fact that AI, this movie, and Catch Me If You Can are like a year and a half is
and they're like impressive, like blockbuster scale movies for the most part. The Spielberg soft glow is hyper like present in this movie, but also that's because the look of this movie is very unique in the fact that it goes through a color draining process in post, which gives it this very gray blue like look of a drab future, right? The only scene in this movie that is in color is the flashback scene to his son going missing at the public pool, and then everything else goes through what's called bleach bypassing, where they just make everyone fucking pale as shit, and the world is just this drab thing where barely any color gets out. It's and it's this idea not just of the future looking like this, but because there's a noir quality, and Spielberg did a crash course on the noir greats like Key Largo and Asphalt Jungle and stuff like that to like inspire him for this movie. Well, he's not going to do this movie in black and white, but he's going to give you something that's kind of close in 2002.
Yeah, I think I would have way preferred black and white, though. I don't like the washed out look of this movie. Maybe that's one thing about it.
Maybe that's
visually, I'm not into looking at this movie, and that is funny because again, he is such a master visual storyteller, and there's obviously moments of this movie where the camera work and the way the action flows, I'm still seeing it Spielberg, but I don't love the because the AI, like we were talking about how like obviously AI had more of that kind of hyper lit stuff than the 80s
but
stuff.
There was also like Gigolo Joe was colorful in the neon cities,
I think AI works. Like the lighting for AI feels right for AI, and I get what he's going for here, but it's so funny that when you just said black and white, I was like, oh, that would have been cool. Like the black and white version.
Well, it'd be cool if there was actually like with a Godzilla -0 or something where they'd release a black and white version of this movie, which would kind of I'd go see it. It'd be really cool. This also is a movie, and I remember again, like a lot of stuff I remember from watching behind the scenes, supplementary content on DVDs and shit, which is that he brought in a bunch of futurists to imagine this world to give it technology that could exist. Like, hey guys, if we're not being out there crazy people, what do you think 2054 might look like? Again, this is back in 2001 or 2000. It's like, look ahead 50 years. What could we have? And some of it was wrong. Like, we don't have massive freeway systems of magnet cars.
Hey, we're only halfway there. What are you talking about?
I don't see us unless as a huge sea change in our
that was my big
political landscape. We're not going to have this type of infrastructure redesign.
I was going to say, think about the work it would take to do those sideway car roads. Like, that's crazy.
But think about how fun it would be. First of all, it just feels like public transportation. How much are people actually driving? You just get on the magnet road.
Well, no, and I know that was
it's sort of like the automatic car, right?
It was I think it was an overthinking of self-driving cars is our future, right? And obviously they are half right because self-driving cars are starting to become a thing that freaks me out when I see them.
But aren't they all just a scam? And aren't they all just being remotely driven by somebody in fucking Thailand or something? I don't know.
Is this a conspiracy?
Wasn't that discovered? Is that all those driverless cars are actually being remotely piloted?
I don't know. Wow. So it's like the Penguin and Batman Returns.
But they're trying to pretend like they're robots
I
cars.
better be just like the Penguin and Batman Returns, and it's a mini version of the car that the person is driving.
Yeah, that
Uh,
make and model. Yes,
I don't
exactly.
know if what it's like where you are, but here in LA, a lot of those self-driving cars are on the road picking people
Well,
up.
I don't
And
know
I
what
don't
the
like it.
Dallas scene is like. I'm in the suburbs where there's
Yeah.
no cabs or anything. It's all, there are Ubers and stuff.
Mhm.
But
Hey, Trish
what
was really excited yesterday because she was looking at the tracking on her package and it said it was currently in Flower Mound. We said, "Oh, Matt could go visit your package."
I could. I mean, I could when I even lived there, but now I don't live there anymore. But
Right.
yeah. Um, what else? Oh yeah. So the futurists are like, but the things that they did get right were like uh ads and machines and computers watching you and giving you your own personalized algorithm to sell you shit. And being, the eye scans and the facial recognition and the targeted ads were something that they were spot on about, as far as like walking
Well,
into the Gap and them saying, "Are you here to buy pants again?"
they
It's
make it even more annoying, which is why it was funny to me that the movie has so much product tie-ins, but that these companies, for the most part, were willing to be like fucking annoying, like shut the fuck up and leave me alone.
I
So I
know. Do
did
you
the
have to listen? Like, also, does everyone get to hear like what you bought last time?
yeah.
You know, they're like, "Are you here for your diarrhea medication again, Mister Anderson?"
How your shit's going?
Yeah. Do you still have loose stool? So, um, but then the other part of that is, and I like seeing Ben and Jerry's in the background at one point because they're in a mall at one point.
Yes.
And we're like, "Oh, good, Chunky Monkey survives," or no, Chubby Hubby. I don't know. Are both of those things? Maybe.
Although it's an
But
alternate future because they mentioned Radio Shack.
but no Dippin' Dots because that was supposed to be the ice cream of the future, and at
Mm.
no future do we ever see a Dippin' Dots. The What I like about this movie, I mean, I like a lot about this movie, way more than you. But one is that, and it doesn't matter if you get ahead of the mystery or not. The mysteries are designed that way, sort of, which is like, yeah, Max von Sydow's in this movie because he's the fucking villain because he's
Yeah.
Max von Sydow, right?
He's not the kindly mentor.
But I like the setup of this movie and the way that it plays out in that you're supposed to think, and this is the most disturbing element of this movie, I think, is that you never get closure on his son's disappearance.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
It sets up the fact that you think you might solve that mystery and that is the mystery of the movie. And you're like, well, obviously, the way movies play out, especially if it's got a Tom Cruise in it, you're going to find out who took his son and what the fate of his son is. And that's not the case. You're actually left. It's an awful crime where he's never going to solve this. It's like a Vanishing style European horror movie style thing,
Yeah.
which is like, you're never going to know, but you are trained to think that you're going to find out. And that when he discovers that Leo Crow is the killer or thinks he is, you're like, oh, that's why he's going to kill this guy. It makes sense. And that's even when he, as a character, is like, oh, that's why I'm going to kill this guy, because I definitely am now, right? Like, why
Right.
would I kill Leo Crow? And then he's like, oh, that's why. And they're right. I'm going to kill him.
I remember
not...
I have a half memory because I forgot so here's the great thing about not having seen this movie since 2002, Matt, is I forgot a lot of the movie specifics. Obviously, I remember the central conceit, but I forgot the trailer thing of he sees himself, killing someone and has to go on the run. So I was like, it got to be, mostly brand new to me. But do you remember that some people talked about, oh, it's funny that they didn't resolve the son thing, and that people say, joking but not joking, that they were like thought that Colin Farrell would be his son, even though that makes no sense timeline wise.
Right.
Like that they'd somehow try to tie that together.
I also like that even now to this day, the billboard with the sunglasses always look like Ben Affleck to me. And I'm like, how does Ben Affleck play into this movie? Because they're showing there's a third guy in the room, and it's just the billboard of the whatever the ad is.
Right.
Yeah, but so you think that the mystery is Sean, and it's not. The mystery is Anne Lively, and that's what comes around in the end, because Danny Whitwer's the red herring, because John is so convinced that Danny, the new guy representative of the Justice Department, is setting him up so that either pre-crime can fail or not fail or something. He's a cocky asshole, so we're just like, oh yeah, he's the bad guy, and he's after him. But it turns out he's not. He gets Jack Vincennes at the end of the movie when he goes to give his presentation about what he thinks is, Rollo Tomassi, Anne Lively is the Rollo Tomassi.
Okay, so I had so much inner debate yesterday about how much should talk about this, only because LA Confidential is one of my favorite movies ever, and one day I'd like to do it on the podcast. But should we talk about the big twist of that movie? But we're doing it, so let's go. I do remember it bothered me that it felt so much like LA Confidential that it just felt like it should have. I kind of
including the way he gets killed.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like, it felt so much like it that I'm like, they had to have known that movie was out 5 years before and was a big Oscar, nominated movie, how much this would play like that. I wish they'd kind of figured out something different so it didn't seem like such a similar beat.
Yeah, I get it that it shares the DNA of that in frame and form, but also, this movie gives us one of the things that people do remember about this movie, even if they've only seen it once, is Tom Cruise moving his hands around, conducting through the vision and the crime scene in a way that we would get in other things. We use that a lot, especially, and I don't know if this is borrowing from real tech, but in the Marvel movies with Tony Stark, he does this a lot, using his basically virtual designs of things, taking pieces out, swapping them in, stuff like that. And then in Iron Man 3, we get the virtual crime scene, right? Where he's like zooming in on the Man Chinese theater bombing, where it's like looking at the clues and stuff like that. So everything borrows from everything, whether it's LA Confidential or something else. So,
but I think it's a credit to this, credit to this movie, but a credit to Spielberg and his visual strength that I don't know how many people who aren't doing podcasts are rewatching Minority Report like all the time in 2026. However, it has a imprint in that I think a lot of people understand the visual reference of both Tom Cruise doing the hand thing and the precogs in that bath, right? It's like those are sort of touchstones. They're very strong visuals. Seeing those three people from above, instantly stands out. And so it's something that people will reference, even if like the movie itself is but a memory, or maybe even something they haven't even seen themselves. That has kind of lasted in an interesting way.
And for those who don't remember either, a little over 10 years ago, there was a Minority Report TV show, short-lived, it only lasted 10 episodes on Fox. Fox notoriously canceling sci-fi projects that it also greenlit. So, which is to say, like, they're greenlighting a ton of stuff, but then they cancel them. So what are you mad about? Are you, mad that it existed at all? Who knows?
But it was a sequel. It was set 10 years later, and it was about the precogs in their life.
It was about Dash, right? It was about Dash and Arthur and Agatha. Yeah. Yep. So it wasn't like a reboot of the story, or it didn't continue the adventures of John Anderson.
None of the same actors, but yes, it did treat the movie as canon to be like, here's a new story with what happens to the precog. They don't stay on that island after all, peacefully.
But also, who was in it? I think I remember Wilmer Valderrama.
Megan Good, who I find absolutely stunning, was in it. So I remember that part.
Who did she play? Who was she?
She played a Dr. Pre-Crime.
Should play Dr. Minority Report.
And then I always forget his name. He has a weird, interesting name. He was on Legends of Tomorrow. Nick Zano. He was.
Well, Nick Zano wasn't he the one who got his asshole sucked out in Final Destination, or was that someone else?
No, I believe you're correct. Okay. And then someone who's just had a kind of breakout year, Lee Jun Lee, who was in Sinners, has Grace.
Ooh,
she was in.
Maybe we need to watch all of Minority Report, the TV show.
Only 10 episodes. It got cut down. It was supposed to be 13, I think, and then it got cut. So.
All right. So, anything else like before we get into story parts? But I like the bait and switch, the misdirection, even though you can call it doesn't mean it's bad. And the idea that both John and Lamar Burgess, who's the character created for the movie, there is some elements of the Philip K. Dick story. We didn't mention that it's based on a Philip K. Dick story. That this movie was going to be adapted at one point in the 90s as turned into a Total Recall sequel. With Verhoeven and Arnold Schwarzenegger.
They wanted the Dick verse, man.
They did what they wanted to create. They were just like, obviously you could create a Total Recall sequel from scratch if you wanted to, but to make sure that you were somehow adapting another Philip K. Dick story and then changing it enough that it makes sense as a Total Recall sequel somehow, still starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, was a stretch. Like you could have just written a Total Recall 2 and still said it's based on Philip K. Dick. Anyway, but yeah, that didn't pan out. It got turned into its own standalone movie, for the better.
By the way,
maybe not according to Eric Goldman, but for the better for me. So
I'm by the way, I'm glancing. I always like to do stuff like this because I'm like, I bet I wrote about this Minority Report TV show. Well, guess what? I interviewed Megan Good for it.
There you go. Well, and they probably said, who would you like to talk to from this movie? And you're like, Megan Good. Like, even before,
and Matt Fowler wrote about the Comic-Con panel for this series. So.
Oh God, I probably did a panel report.
And I'm 90% sure I didn't do this interview, but I see it IGN's Comic-Con interview with Megan Good, Stark Sands, Laura Regan, and Wilmer Valderrama. So yeah. Amber Dowling reviewed all the episodes for us. We were all over the Minority Report beat.
Back in the day. Look,
that is fascinating. They wanted this to be a Total Recall sequel. That seems so funny, just to be like, hey, there's this crazy other thing we haven't talked about in this future that's also happening that somehow Schwarzenegger's character is going to get swept up in. Maybe they could have brought Quado back in some way. I don't know.
I just want to bring up the fact that this movie, again, it was a lot for the time, but still considering everything that went into it, and the director and the star, only cost $100 million. And they did that because Spielberg and Cruise both waived their pay and took a percentage of the gross.
Yeah.
Which is what Spielberg usually does, by the way. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's funny because I don't know if you saw the report about how much the salaries were for the Cliff Booth movie, Matt.
I did, but I don't remember. But I remember it was like people it was up in arms about.
Well, again, people who don't know that this is the Netflix way, but especially with this movie, which is a sequel to a big theatrical hit with huge names involved. So Tarantino got 20 million, Fincher 20 million, Brad Pitt 40 million, because it's the opposite of doing how Spielberg would approach a theatrical movie, which is the whole there's no back end, there's no profit participation,
there's no back end, there's no residuals or
yes.
whatever. Yeah. And Netflix also on top of that overpays for it.
And so they're like, this is the imaginary amount maybe you could have gotten and a little extra sprinkled on top that you're going to get. So that's why the salary is absolutely insane.
All right, let's talk about the beginning of this movie and how we're brought into this world, and creating from scratch the visuals that are involved with precogs and their visions and how you can rewind and go through things. And we're brought into, another right after AI, jealous husband, cheating wife scenario.
Yeah.
Here featuring Ari Gross as this guy who already suspects his wife is cheating and is trying to like needle her a little bit, being like, hey, I saw this guy in the park, and hey, you're not dressed up for your open house, and knows something's going on, and he's got to catch him in the act. Does he know what he's going to do when he does? He hasn't thought that far through, because a red ball comes down, which is a crime of passion, last-minute murder decision for the precogs, and we're brought into this world with this case. We're introduced to John and his team, who we've got like Neil McDonough is sort of like the most recognizable of this crew. Mm-hmm. But we also have Steve Harris as Jad Watson.
Well, Steve Harris, who it's funny, who's been a huge TV presence on shows I have mostly not watched, but he's so recognizable because he's just been like a constant,
he's on Awake, which is a show we've one and done season.
But the practice was like, years. So, like there's stuff he was on for many, many years that people would know him from. But I do want to mention the opening with, Ari Gross as like someone who was like someone familiar to us more for like stuff he did in like the late 80s. And so I got to go.
Former student of my father at UC Irvine. Yes.
And a classmate of mine played the younger version of Ari Gross in Coupe de Ville when there was a flashback to them. But the couple, well, not the couple, the cuckolding couple, the affair. She was the mom on Heroes, right? She was Claire's mom, I think, on Heroes.
Oh, if you say so, sure.
Yes, but then I was very excited to see Joel Gretsch because I just mentioned this movie, TV series 2 weeks ago when we did Close Encounters, but the 4400 which I talked about at the end because of like the whole conceit of people who've been abducted or just gone. We don't know what happened to them, suddenly appearing, unaged from through the decades. That show's center was a Mulder and Scully type, detectives who are going to investigate what's happening here. And he was the guy, Joel Gretsch. And I love that show, and I interviewed him a few times for that show. Although other people would remember him as the priest on the V reboot after that.
Yeah, he was the Catholic priest.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we're brought in. It's all really interesting, and we're shown we really have to like buy in to a lot within this first 15 minutes. One is that people can predict crimes. Two, the cops who see this now have to figure out how to stop it. And in this case, they're given a very short window. It's not like a few days or a week or something, because it's not a predetermined, like, this isn't a premeditated murder. It's crime of passion. And so it's like, they've got to like figure out, it's a mystery. It's a mini mystery to begin with, because where is he? Oh, the house doesn't exist. Well, they got to pick from these 3 precog houses or like, I don't know. It's a whole thing. And we have to like be introduced to the precogs and the fact that they can predict and their visions. But Danny is there right at the beginning, just so a few questions can get answers, because he's the guy in the room who's like, hey, what the fuck's going on? And then Neil McDonough can tell him.
Yeah, it is funny to have them be like the new guy just so they can do that. I wonder structurally they must have debated, because it's an interesting decision to have this whole long opening sequence and then show us the TV report that does the like catching you up on what's happening.
On like, it's been 6 years,
Yeah.
and pre-crime is reduced. After 1 year, murder went down to 90% in DC. This is only a DC thing. It's gonna go. There's a vote to make it go national based on the success of this. And I think also we are shown this to be on the side of pre-crime at the start of the movie. Whether or not we ethically agree with it, we see them stopping a murder. Like, he's swinging the scissors. He is going to do it. It's not like he is arrested outside of his house before he even enters. It's a 11th hour save where he was going to kill his wife. And so it's like, oh, it does stop murder. So we as a viewer can be like, this works. Why aren't we doing this now? It's all this stuff.
We don't have the psychics, man.
We don't, but also we don't see like, well, I mean, we have the computers. Watch Person of Interest, Eric. But like, we don't see him again arrested outside of his home on the steps of his house being like, but I haven't done anything. We see him actually, he was going to do it. And if they had gotten there 5 seconds later, that he would have. So it's sort of a tease to get us on the side of John, our hero, who is like full on team pre-crime, before we realize, oh, this is all terribly wrong. And built into the story itself, the fact that like pre-crime is flawed because the psychics themselves, the precogs themselves, are also wrong and disagree. Like, that comes like in the middle of the movie where John learns, it's like, wait, these people could have a choice and do have alternate futures. And he himself proves that when he decides not to kill Leo Crow.
Yeah.
Even though in that moment, he doesn't know Leo Crow is a fake. He chooses on his own, thinking this man is the killer of his son, to spare his life. And so there is a flaw. And not only is there a flaw in the pre-crime, like actual, like the powers and supernatural powers involved, there is a human flaw in Lamar Burgess, who killed Anne Lively. So like it's on both levels. The whole thing is rotten.
I'm sure editorially they must have toyed with putting that report first. But I also get the idea of like, let's put them in the middle of a case first. It will have a little bit of a clunky exposition with Colin Farrell's character walking in going, oh, what's going on? But it works, to service what they're trying to do. It is funny because we just talked about with AI how 95% of the effects really hold up. This one has a little bit more CG that's not quite there yet. Like that wooden ball being made is like digital,
right?
And it's like it does. And again, a lot of movies of this era. Now we're talking about movies that are very expensive, and the prequels suffer from this, which is that Lucas always wanted to push the limits, and they were going past the limits. So even though those movies have giant technological breakthroughs, and a lot of things that we see now are based on stuff done for those movies, the actual effects in those movies don't always look realistic because they were doing stuff no one had ever done before.
That being said, Spielberg still isn't like, and again, it's worth mentioning that Attack of the Clones came out the same summer.
Yep.
Spielberg is always going to use physical sets, even if they are enhanced by CG and computer animation. He is never going to be a full green screen director, and he's always said that physical sets will bring out things in actors that you'll never get when they're just looking at nothing. So, like, yeah, like they're using buildings and offices and rooms and things for real here, even if like maybe the platforming video game element of him jumping from like car to car, like on the magnetic freeway, isn't real. Him jumping into the yoga studio is like, and like the aerial shot of like going over those apartments when the spiders are looking for people, that was done practically. That was done like they built this set so that they could go over it with a camera and do that. So
and that's a fantastic shot. I love that moment. I forgot to mention in AI that there's a great tracking shot in AI where when the guy is carrying Teddy and Teddy keeps saying, "Where's David? Where's David?" And it follows them through the flesh fair. Spielberg's really great with like the long tracking shots. And this one, the overhead going room to room, and people are fucking, and the couple is fighting, and they stop just for a second, they go back to fighting. It's all very well done.
We just came off AI where we spoke about Spielberg not being a sexy director and like doesn't do sex scenes, but here, not only we get like a holographic or hologram sex scene in the virtual club where like it's kind of like wire tripping a little bit. He's like, hey, you want to experience something that you can't in the real world? It's very, very Strange Days, but we actually get real people in bed having sex interrupted by the spiders.
But I'd argue it actually kind of proves what we're saying, because he is not going to do an intimate sex scene. It's actually always still presented as kind of.
I mean, like we were robbed of the scene at the end of the movie where he is reconciled with his wife, and it's like, let's make another Sean, and then like,
take my breath away,
and then they call him Sean too.
TOO. But yeah, the 2 movies in a row that have like a lot of like sex stuff happening. That it does stand out for Spielberg, even including, but also still feel kind of like arm's length in the way.
But also, man, the cheating wife and the jealous husband, because not only do we get that with the first crime here with Irie Gross, but later when they're going through the mall and Samantha Morton is like, can see like things before they happen. This guy's about to drop his briefcase and grab an umbrella because it'll help us later. She goes to that woman and says, "Don't go home. He knows." And it's something like, oh my God, another guy's going to like kill his fucking wife because of her secrets. So this movie also, and it's got like really oogie elements here, which is like the scene where he has to like lose his eyes and like get replaced. And then his eyes look different the rest of the movie. They're like these black eyes. And he gets that saw trap put on his head. And I don't know, the visual of this movie are great. And also the noir elements of him going from person to person, character to character. And they're sort of all over the top in their own way, whether it's Lois Smith as like the doctor in the greenhouse with her crazy like poison ivy style plants, or the guy who runs the wire tripping facility, or Peter Stormare, who is always going to be a crazy person no matter who I'm also only ever going to understand 80% of what he says, even if he's speaking English. It doesn't matter. Subtitles help. Peter Subtitle Stormare, as I call him.
and that sequence is great. And also, it gets kind of, that is a weird, twisted sequence, especially for Spielberg, which is like, you've got Peter Stormare, who's going to always bring that energy that he brings, but then it's like the nurse, and she's like, it's like kind of grotesque. She has this giant mole. They're both like, there's like a point of view shot of them like in Cruise's face. And it's very different. And I do like that sequence quite a bit.
And then we've got the action sequences. So the initial chase stuff where he's hopping off of the cars, and then the jetpack stuff with the 6 sticks and the sonic guns that lead into a car factory. And that part, especially because of the John Williams score, but also because of the playfulness of the action where they're not trying to kill him, just catch him. And he's going around someone's kitchen with the jetpacks, is very Indiana Jones. It's very like He's flipping around. He's using technology. Things are almost. He's almost trapped in the car. It felt like an Indiana Jones action sequence.
I see,
especially with the movie he would make at the end of this decade with Crystal Skull. So
yeah, I see that. I definitely see that. Although the two other things that leap out, well, a couple things. One, the sonic gun is awesome. Two, when he's jumping from car to car, it feels very video game because it's like they're all going up in rows and you have to time it right. But the other thing is when they're in the car factory, it did amuse me that this was the same year as Attack of the Clones, because not only does it feel similar, but Williams' score is similar, and that's going to happen to the droid factory in Attack of the Clones. So it's like they're running around, the machines clump, clump, clump. Very similar score is happening.
That would feel more, of course, Attack of the Clones would feel more video gamey and less personal. And
then Cruise ends up with a protocol droid head on his body, remember?
Yes, he does. And he's like, what? Look at me. I'm Protocol John.
Yes. Yeah. It's crazy. But yeah, that was funny to realize it was literally, I mean, I forgot it was the same summer, much less the same year.
I want to also talk about that usually, and this is brought up, this has become almost memified in our TikTok culture of the people have even done, it was a meme. Where someone's like POV, I'm the dead wife in a cop drama.
Yes.
And it's a home video.
Mm-hmm.
This time it's a dead son, but the wife is estranged, not dead, but it's very similar because he's watching
holding
home
the
videos.
hand, looking back. Yeah, the frolicking.
No one is ever like if you are a cop who is obsessed with taking home movies, you should probably know your family's gonna die because you shouldn't put down that camera because it's leading to their deaths. The fact that his ex-wife, and it's not like she can't be a character in this movie, when she's friends with Lamar and Lamar's like, oh, I'm sorry that I didn't know how far gone he was. This is my fault. But like Danny visits her too, and like makes a bad impression because he's so blunt about it. It's like, oh, he lost your son and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that she becomes John gets taken prisoner and vanishes for like 5 to 10 minutes of this movie.
Yeah.
And then she takes over as the hero. She gets the moment with Lamar when he fucks up and says drowning. She gets the aha moment and then steals his gun and his fucking eye to go in and rescue him from, Halo prison or wherever the hell he is. And so she becomes like a hero of this movie, which is, usually when the wife leaves, there's no reconciliation because he fucked up. He became a drug addict and he couldn't get over his own guilt of losing their son. She can be a character, but she becomes, not only did she become a hero at the end, but they reconcile and get back together.
Yeah.
So it's very unexpected.
It is unexpected. I do like that it's a different kind of deal with her character who either would be portrayed negatively or just like a sad kind of like reminder of what was. So it is nice that they actually even get back together. A funny backstory there. So Catherine Morris, who is most well known for again a CBS procedural that ran for many years that we've never seen, Cold Case, but was in AI. Has what was her character? Teenage Honey. So she's at the Flesh Fair. She is on screen very briefly, but mostly was cut. She had like a big like musical performance that was cut. So she joked that like Spielberg this was his makeup to her because like she not only is she has a sizable role, but she has a more sizable role than one might expect from this character type in the movie.
I know her as from Bone Tomahawk, actually, which is a very small role as Kurt Russell's wife in that movie too. But yeah, you're going to miss me with the CBS shows. I'm not going to get them.
I mean, again, it's one of those things where I recognize her because of commercials that I probably saw during Survivor. But otherwise, yeah, I have not seen Cold Case. My mom's probably seen Cold Case. That seems like a show she would have watched all of.
That's over 150 episodes of fucking Cold Case. So there you go.
Yep.
All right. Man, what else? Again.
By the way, there's a lot of people in this movie. I didn't spot. I didn't see. I was looking at them. I'm sure, but
did you see Cameron Crowe and Cameron Diaz on the subway at the Vanilla Sky cameos of this movie?
I didn't realize it was Cameron Crowe, even though I think I did realize it was someone familiar. But that's different because those are purposeful cameos, and I guess Paul Thomas Anderson's on that subway too, but I don't think he gets a good shot.
And then William Mapother is his Tom Cruise cousin. William Mapother.
I didn't spot him,
Mapother.
Frank Grillo, or Jim Rash. And those are all, I mean, those are people that were not like, the same type
Well,
of
I
like,
didn't
celebrity.
spot Grillo or Rash because they're like, he's a cop in a helmet or whatever. But
Right.
like, Mapother has lines where he's like, and it's like, hey, I'm looking for somebody. And he's like, I can't help you. And then he spins the gun and points it at him in the hotel, looking for the
Oh, that was right. That's
Leo
right.
Crow
That's right.
room. Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Second Spielberg movie in a row with someone who will be on Lost shortly after.
Oh, after
Which,
Ken Lung. Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I really dig this film, and again, it's on a lot. And I think I watched the third act the most. It just seems to be on in the background on Pluto TV when I ever turn it on. It's like the end. So John is given this thing where it's like they're trying to get pre-crime national, and they're worried about Danny fucking things up for them. But then this thing happens to him where he's framed. He thinks he's framed for murder. But then he knows if he disproves this, it means pre-crime is bullshit. And that happens to Lamar at the end too. And he says it out loud, though. It's like, what do you do? Do you kill me and go away and go to prison? But then pre-crime goes on without you because you've proven that it works. Or do you, do what you do, which is he kills himself and prove that pre-crime doesn't work and ruin the whole project. And that's and he chooses to basically kill himself and sabotage pre-crime with it, take the whole ship down with him, and then they end it. And everyone's like, hey, pre-crime existed for 6 years. I want to ask you, Eric, there's a lot of ethical questions about pre-crime, and Danny's like, you're arresting people who have committed no crime, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But what about the idea here? I'm not even talking about the murder of Anne Lively because we need her daughter Agatha for our pre-crime. I'm talking about basically imprisoning 3 people for life in neuro milk or whatever.
Yeah.
So that you can have pre-crime. Like basically like, and even they were even like, it's best to not think of them as human. Well, that's awful. Like, what about these 3 people like that you have determined will only be your pain ciphers? Right?
Yeah,
like all they're going to do for the rest of their life is witness violent murder.
Yeah. It's weird because, I don't want to be a be direct. Like I don't want to act like I'm an idiot who needs things articulated. But maybe I'd like the characters in the movie to maybe a little more directly discuss this and it's in there because when he goes on the run with Agatha, but when they capture him, then she's put back in the bath, right? And their caretaker who's like kind to them, but he's also obviously.
By the way, something's going on with that dude too.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He's kind
with
to them.
Wally, yeah.
He's kind to them, but it's also creepy. And he's like, "Oh, there you are. You're back. You're safe." But it's also horrible. It's like you're back. You're safe. You can just lay here, in a horrific
in mental torture forever.
Yeah. So I wish the movie had maybe a little more directly dealt with that. It's also funny to see that the TV show dealt with something that is an interesting question because I was glancing at some of the stuff. Like TV show also dealt with weird after effects that the people that were all freed from the prison were dealing with, like that, that they're in a strange mental state of mind from being in that weird stasis they're put in. I think that's the thing about the movie for me is that it's not hiding from the ethical dilemma at the center. It is core to it, but I think that even more could be done with it. That is because, and I get it, they want it to be like exciting, so they center it on like a kind of noir, pseudo action thing. But I think that there was a version of this maybe that kind of dug in a little deeper with some of the stuff that is
in the Philip K. Dick story. The precogs are actually kind of deformed mutants in a very Total Recall way, as opposed to just looking like people with regular people who have brain damage,
right.
So you could even say like, if they didn't look human, it would be easier to dehumanize them. But here it's like they're people, and you're just deciding that they they're just going to be slaves to the system and not live their lives. The ending of this movie with like the pregnant wife and like the precog get to live in a cabin with books, and like, is that great? I don't know. I mean, it's better than what they were living before, but it's sometimes we can really love a movie, but just like don't like that final little epilogue because it feels too weirdly buttoned up. And Almost AI is kind of like that, which is like you and I talked about that the movie may have had a better lasting legacy if it ended with him frozen at the bottom of the ocean, you know?
Yeah.
Where it's like, man, I love Long Kiss Goodnight. Like it's one of my favorite 90s action movies. It's one of my favorite action movies of all time. The ending where it's just like, oh, she stays with her husband and she's now in a dress and it plays that Tracy Bonham song. I'm like, okay. Sometimes there's really maybe no good way to end the movie. Maybe we should have done what old movies did, which was like roll credits as soon as they win. As soon as they win. As soon as Daniel LaRusso wins the tournament.
I was going to say, as soon as Max von Sydow kills himself.
Yeah. Then it's over.
Directed by Steven Spielberg.
I do like how with the Leo Crow murder and this end one with Lamar and John, what is said, which is like goodbye Crow or forgive me John, is still said but in a different context than the prevision, which is like forgive me John shoots John dead, but here it's forgive me John, he shoots himself. He still says goodbye Crow, but it's right before he's forced to sort of kill him accidentally.
Right.
He says goodbye Crow because he's going to leave the room. Like, so I don't know. There's little details that
I know. I think it's clever. The whole idea of how he killed her mom with the like recreation.
Oh, that's great. That's one of my favorite parts.
That's
of the movie.
very clever. We haven't mentioned on this episode that Jessica Harper, the star of Suspiria, plays her mom. That we get these little.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Yeah.
So I think that's very clever. I also will say, as much as I think that not only is it very close to LA Confidential, but it's also just kind of predictable in the moment that Max von Sydow is going to end up being the bad guy. I actually like how the when Colin Farrell is shot, I like how it's shot, which is to say we stay on Colin Farrell and just the gun hits him. We don't see von Sydow.
We don't see the headshot, right? Is what you're saying?
No. I'm saying we don't see von Sydow pull the gun out. Because we're just on Colin Farrell talking, and suddenly the bullet hits him. And I thought that was a good way to counteract a beat that was pretty predictable. That like something was going to happen, and I think even in the audience you can feel.
Unlike LA Confidential, it first happens off screen. Yeah, no, I see what you're saying.
And most movies where something like that happens, it's like we see the guy pull a knife, pull a gun. Oh no, the betrayal. We have a second to gasp. We don't get that here, so I thought that was a nice way to do that differently. Samantha Morton, I just want to say, obviously a great actress. She would get an Oscar nomination very shortly after this for, was it In America? And, consistently works. She's not like a star, but she just works all the time.
The last thing I saw her in was maybe Walking Dead, during the Whisperer stuff. Yeah.
She's going to be in The Odyssey. I mean, everyone's in The Odyssey, but she's going to be in Nolan's The Odyssey. And this was, she's done at least 3 movies with Colin Farrell. I knew they were in Fantastic Beasts together, but there was one other one when I was looking at her credits last night. I can't remember the name of it that they did in the early teens together.
Sweet and Lowdown, though a Woody Allen movie, we should mention is the movie that she broke out in.
Oh, that's
because
right.
she got an Oscar nomination for that movie.
Oh, she got it. That was her. So In America was her second nomination.
Yeah.
Damn, look at you, Samantha Moore. But yeah, I think she's great because it's just it's an interesting role because she has to obviously play it in the soup for so much of it, but then show this different side of her when she's out. I also love how she's speaking all quietly to him and then screams "run" is a great moment. He does.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I think a great trailer.
He should run quicker.
It's funny because Tom Cruise running. I don't know if it was a thing yet.
It wasn't a talked about thing yet.
He does run in this movie, but mostly he's jumping. He's jumping and climbing and stuff like that. But it should be mentioned that in his home movie flashback, stuff with Sean, where it's like, how did I run? And I wanted him to be like, to be honest, son, your running was bullshit. Let me show you how to run. Let me show you the Tom Cruise running. And then there's a touching moment where I guess whatever precog abilities that Agatha has, Agatha, Dashiell, and Arthur all named after, new named after famous mystery novelists. But she is able to sort of like project forward a multiversal hypothetical life for Sean, which is sort of nice and sweet, before they capture John at the house. Like she tells them the life he would have lived, and it's very sort of sweet. This is also an observation here from someone who's watched this movie more than anyone should watch this movie, probably, is that there's weird moments in this movie where people are sick. So like calling it Lamar, and he's just got a cold that goes away by the end of the movie.
You're
but
right.
He's like, I've got this damn cold, and she's giving him tea. But then like Peter Stormare is full of snot because he's got some illness too.
Well, Stormare, you just expect everything weird to be going on with him.
Yeah.
But Von Sydow being sick, you would think is setting up a he's dying plot point to like be like, this is what I need to leave. You know, that it's like, I feel like that must be a tendril of something more, because it does feel kind of weird and extraneous. By the way, not that anyone cares, but the third Colin Farrell Samantha Morton movie was Miss Julie from 2014 with Jessica Chastain. Never seen it.
I have no idea what this movie is.
Yes, but if you're doing your festival of all the Colin Farrell Smith,
sure,
then that will be the other one. By the way, when his son is taken, that is the most fucking crowded public pool. Jesus Christ! Like there's everyone is at that pool. Like
I know
so
it's
many
a bold
people.
move. Whoever took this kid, very bold.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, I guess
but maybe you're just under the cover of Adults and Kids. Maybe it's the best thing.
You're bringing up another point, but I was just saying how it was humorously crowded to me, like that he had to get through that many people at this fucking pool. It's just like it's so popular.
It is very crowded. Maybe that's why everyone's sick all the goddamn time.
They're all going to this very small pool.
It's fucking super flu season constantly, just year round, because everyone is just like drinking everyone's piss in this pool.
How gross, wonderfully gross when Cruise is blindfolded and eats that disgusting moldy sandwich.
The food pranks that he obviously set up in the fridge. I don't know if it's just food
because there's good versions of everything. Yeah.
Did he never take out old food that from other eye surgeries, or did he put those in there because he hates this guy because he put him in prison, right? Like, so he's like, it'd be funny if I also put rotten milk in here.
And fresh milk, and now it's which will he choose?
As James Wan starts to revision Saw, and like, what could Jigsaw do for them? It's like, what if I also gave them, like, blindfolded them and tell them like choose the right food?
And I'm just saying, if I just ate a disgusting moldy sandwich, I can't see, I'm not drinking anything else from that fridge. I'm going to find a faucet, like a tap,
Yeah. He's like, maybe this. Yeah, I'm not testing the fucking. First of all, I'm not. Just me personally, I'm not drinking good milk. Like, I don't drink milk. That sounds gross to me. But both of those milk options sound equally disgusting to me. So
now I want the scene to keep going. He just keeps getting the gross choice.
Like Naked Gun style, where he just won't stop eating the worst things.
And it's like beautiful looking, like a perfectly cooked steak next to like a rotted one. And he just keeps going on and on. Very funny. Again, there's a lot of like un-Spielbergy moments in this, and him dropping the eyeballs, and
he's got to chase his eyes down the hill. Yeah,
that was very funny.
I'd like to think that in the futurist think tank, they brings people together talk for 3 days about what the future will look like, and like one guy's like, well, first of all, they're a bunch of piss drinkers. They just go to public pools and swallow each other's piss, and he's like, you're fired. You should leave.
Tom Cruise is a very good actor, and it's funny because he's also very mannered, but it works. Like, and I was thinking about it a lot when he has a line. It's just like, he has a line where he's like, how have I not seen this? And he's like moving his hands at the side of his head, and it's a very like, it's why he's easy to parody. But it's just like,
like if you know how what Tom Cruise is kind of going to deliver in movies, like it's hard to get a surprise out of the Tom Cruise, right? So. Mm-hmm. When he's got to like give a speech or convince somebody or plead or something, you know what you're going to get from him, like, and that's fine. Like, he's a great actor, but he's got his thing. Like he does what he does. Same thing with most movie stars, really. So
and that intensity it works very well. Obviously, he plays characters where it leans into that. It's funny to think that he's 2 Mission Impossibles in at this point, but there's going to be plenty more. Opening credits. I didn't realize this was a co-production with DreamWorks and 20th Century Fox, and then I remembered. Now that, of course, because this is now a Disney-owned movie. And 2 years ago at D23, there was a room full of cool cars from sci-fi movies, and the Lexus from Minority Report was one of them. Like, there was a Tron cycle. There was like a bunch of different things. And Minority Report is now part of the Disney family.
And there were real life six sticks, and they were making people vomit all over each other.
There's actually there's a lot of vomit in this.
So there's a lot of non-lethal things happening here. So there's the six sticks, the sonic guns, and then Danny Biggs brings up at the end bind foam, something like that we never see used. So, but yeah. Anyway,
the cops, that was very funny. The bad boys, and that he's on Cops.
Yeah, which would have been like a 60-year-old show at this point. So,
hey,
all right. So, Minority Report. Eric's still lukewarm on it. I love it.
But again, I'm lukewarm in the fact that, like, Spielberg is so talented that it's still a watchable movie that has some cool moments. It just, it doesn't fully take off for me. And I'm glad I revisited it, but it's not going to be like, it's not in my higher echelon of Spielberg movies. All
right, next week we've got War of the Worlds, 2005's War of the Worlds, which I also love still and rewatch all the time. And we'll get into that, and then we'll do, after that movie, we're going to do another multi-year jump into his next sci-fi project. But yeah, until next time, everything is possible, but nothing is real. And Shakma.
Shakma!
Sci-Fi!